They called him holy, but he called her fire. And in a convent cloaked in silence and secrets, one kiss would cost them salvation or set their souls ablaze forever. Before we begin tonight's story, tell me, where are you listening from? What part of the world holds you in this moment? And what time is it there? Is it the still hour before dawn? Or the velvet hush of midnight, when hearts remember what they've tried to forget? If you haven't yet, subscribe, because here we whisper truths that history tried to bury. Now close your eyes and follow me back to a time when love could damn you more surely than sin. The monastery bell tolls 6 times, evening prayers. Silence wraps around the stone halls like fog. You're scrubbing the flagstones outside the chapel, your knees aching, your fingers raw from lie and cold water. The other girls work quietly. No one speaks after 6th bell. The abbot walks by, robes sweeping. You lower your gaze. He doesn't notice you, but someone else does. From the shadowed doorway, a figure lingers. He wears a simple brown robe. Hood low, but you know who it is, Brother Corvin. Younger than most, though still older than you. Perhaps 28. His hands are inked. His voice, when he speaks during readings, is low and careful, like he's afraid it might break the walls. He lingers a beat too long before disappearing into the chapel. Your chest tightens. Not because he's looked at you, he didn't. Not directly, but because you felt seen, and in this place, that's dangerous. You were sold to this monastery at 12. Not as a novice, not even as a servant, as a bondswoman, one of the silent girls who clean and cook and carry water in exchange for grace and order. You wear grey, not white. Your bed is in the laundry cellar. You are not allowed to read or speak during meals, or look directly at the clergy. But last spring, someone gave you a book, slipped beneath your mat, hidden in a wrapped cloth. It was in Latin, and you couldn't read it at first. But the margins held notes, translations, made by a careful hand, a man's, surely. You spent nights tracing the words with your fingers, whispering the names of Greek gods and forbidden cities, and once, in the quiet, you heard someone near your door, breathing, then gone. You never saw who. But now, when you see Brother Corvin, something inside you sharpens. You don't know if it's fear, or memory, or something worse. That night, you light no candle. The full moon bleeds through the window slits in your stone room. The wind hums. And then, faint, the creak of the outer chapel door. You sit up, footsteps, not heavy, measured, coming closer, and then you hear it, a whisper, not words, just a soft breath, almost like a question. You don't speak. You wait, and the footsteps fade again. In the morning, you find a leaf on your sill, pressed flat, fig, from the orchard, out of season. He knows where you sleep. At Mass, you dare to look up once, just for a second. He's reading aloud, Psalms. The firelight dances across his cheekbones, and then he pauses. For half a second, too long, your stomach twists. Afterward, in the vestry, you're ordered to clean the inner sanctum. Alone, a punishment, apparently. Some linen misfolded, but it's not punishment. You know it. Someone arranged this. Inside the sanctum, the air is thick with incense. Candles still flicker. A book lies open on the altar. Not the Psalter. A different book, older. Greek letters. A voice behind you. You shouldn't be in here. You turn. He's standing at the door. Robe unbelted, barefoot. Then why did you leave the book open? You ask. He doesn't answer. Just steps inside. Closes the door. The silence stretches. Then, I've seen your translations, he says softly. You freeze. He takes another step. You're better than most scribes I've trained. You want to speak, to ask why, to ask how, but your throat is tight. He steps close enough that you can smell parchment, wax, and something else. Cedarwood oil. I shouldn't have left the book, he says, but I needed you to see it. He places a scroll on the altar beside the book. Ovid, he says. Banned, of course. You reach for it, but stop. Why me, you whisper. His eyes meet yours, finally, fully. Because you're not like the others, he says. You remember who you were before this place told you. To be silent. Your breath catches. He leans closer. You haven't forgotten how to want. And then he leaves. Nothing more, just that. But you can't sleep that night. Not because of fear, but because he's right. You haven't forgotten. And now you want. You tell yourself it was a moment. Nothing more. That monks say strange things sometimes, especially in places soaked with incense and prophecy. But something's shifted. The book is gone from the altar the next morning, but in its place, flat beneath the folded linen, is a slip of parchment, a single Latin line written in an unmistakable hand, immerses. Intercolumnus love is silent between the columns. You hide the paper in the seam of your shift. You shouldn't keep it, but burning it feels like cutting out a piece of your own breath. That night, you dream of him not speaking, not touching, just watching you as if your body were a psalm he's never dared to recite. And when you wake, your hand is pressed to your own chest, your lips whispering the line back, over and over, like a verse meant for someone who no longer believes in prayer. At morning liturgy, the bread is dry, the wine bitter. The old priest drones on about purity, about temptation hiding in the lowliest of hearts. You kneel with the other girls, cold stone beneath your knees, candle wax clinging to the hem of your gown. But you feel his gaze again. Brother Corvin, reading near the altar, lips barely moving as his finger traces each word. But when the candlelight flickers, his eyes lift, just for a second, and meet yours. No smile, no nod, just heat, a pulse of it, straight through your ribs, and then it's gone. The service ends, the bells toll. You gather your cleaning supplies, but when you return to the vestry, there's a folded cloth waiting where your bucket should be. You open it slowly, heart pounding. Inside, a small vial of ink, a scrap of leather, and a page, half written, the start of a poem. Unfinished. You hide it beneath your skirts and say nothing. All week, nothing else comes. No glance, no message, no slip of parchment. You start to wonder if you imagined it, or if your body invented hope out of loneliness. If desire was simply the ghost of hunger you tried to silence. But on the seventh night, while tending the garden under moonlight, you find something caught beneath the basil roots. A string tied to a wooden token. Etched into it, barely visible in the dark, are 2 letters, C+A. Your breath leaves you. No one knows your real name. Not here. You were stripped of it when you arrived. You were given a saint's name, something forgettable. But this token calls you back to yourself. You hold it so tightly your fingers sting. The next morning, you carve a reply into a piece of bark and tuck it beneath the vestry door. No words, just, meet me. Midnight, garden. You expect him not to come. You prepare yourself for disappointment, rehearse the excuses in your mind. It was a mistake. He regretted it. He was testing you. But when the moon rises and the chapel bell tolls 12, he is already there, waiting beneath the willow tree. By the garden wall, he looks different in moonlight. Not holy, not cloistered, just real. Tired, pale, eyes too sharp to belong to a man resigned to stillness. You came, he says softly. You nod, your throat is dry. You're trembling, but not from fear. He steps forward, slowly. I don't want to harm you, he says. I know what they would do, if they knew, if we were caught. He doesn't finish the thought. You step closer, almost without meaning to. Then don't speak of it, you whisper. Just be. Here now, his hands brush yours. Barely a touch. But it's enough to unravel you. His fingers are calloused, warm, trembling like yours. You're so close now, you can smell the ink on his skin, the faint trace of oil they used to polish the altar wood. You expect him to kiss you. You want him to, but he doesn't. Not yet. Instead, he touches your wrist, then your jaw, as if memorizing. You, through silence. His thumb grazes the edge of your lip. You feel like blasphemy, he murmurs. And finally, when your breath hitches, when your eyes close, and the space between you disappears, he kisses you. Not roughly, not in hunger, but as if you were scripture, sacred, forbidden, alive. You've never been touched this way before. Never known that a mouth could ask questions without words. When you pull away, your heart's pounding so loudly you fear it will wake the monastery. Tomorrow, you say, he nods. The library passage, after Vespers, and then he's gone. You don't sleep. You just lie awake, counting the spaces where he touched you, wondering if desire always feels this holy. The next day, you barely hear the other girls speaking. You move through chores like a ghost. Your pulse lives somewhere else now, somewhere beneath your skin, waiting for dusk. When the sun finally dips, you pretend to clean the east corridor. You slip into the scriptorium with your bucket, then down the narrow staircase that leads to the library vault. It's always cold. Down here silent, save for the occasional drip of water from ancient stone. And there he is, candlelit, parchment laid out, ink open. We'll be missed if we take too long, you whisper. Then let us make every second a prayer, he replies. You move to him, no hesitation now. His hands find your waist, your mouth, and the kiss this time is hunger, is danger, is everything. He lifts you onto the wooden desk, parchment crinkling beneath you. You feel the sharp edge of the ink bottle. At your hip, you pull him down to you, desperate, breathless. He whispers your name, not the saint's name, but your real one, like a vow. You whisper his in return, Corvin. It tastes like rebellion, like honey and blood. His robe falls open, yours too. Skin against skin in the cold of the vault. The only warmth is between you, and you think, in that moment, that if damnation feels like this, you would go willingly. No one speaks. You just move, together, as if guided by something older than scripture. When it ends, your chest against his lips on your forehead, you whisper, I don't want to be saved. His voice is rough, then let's burn together. You dress in silence, and return to your rooms through the laundry chute. But you're not careful enough. As you round the corner to the dormitory hallway, someone's waiting in the shadows. Sister Amelin, stern, thin, a mouth like a wound. She steps forward, candle in hand. Her eyes flick to your half-loosened shift, to your damp braid. Out late, she says, smelling of smoke and parchment. You freeze, but before you can speak, she leans closer. You're not the first, she whispers, but you may be the last. Then she walks away, and you realize she knows, or suspects, and she will not be silent forever. You cannot breathe for the rest of the night. Every sound, the wind through the shutters, the shift of bedsheets. A girl coughing in her sleep feels like it could be the signal that Sister Ameline has gone to the Mother Superior, that your name has already been written in a record, and all that's left is for the bell to toll. You wait for dawn as if it might bring mercy, but when the sun finally rises, everything is still. The birds sing, the girls wake. Chores are assigned, no alarm, no questioning, no punishment. Only Sister Amelin, who watches you too closely during meal prep, her mouth too quiet. She doesn't accuse, doesn't warn. That silence is worse than any scream. It means she holds your future in her fist and hasn't decided whether to crush it yet. But you know this. If she opens her mouth, you're both damned. Corvin doesn't appear at morning prayers. You pretend not to notice. Pretend not to scan the rows of brown-robed figures, heads bowed, all looking the same in their modest stillness. But he isn't there. Not in the vestry, not in the cloister garden, not even at the midday reading where he always recites the Book of Wisdom. And suddenly the absence is louder than his presence ever was. You fear the worst, that Sister Amelin went to him first, that she gave him a choice, confess or vanish. You stir the soup slower than usual that afternoon, your thoughts burning hotter than the pot. The girls gossip about the bishop's upcoming visit, about new laws requiring more fasting, about a nun who once gave birth in secret and bled out behind the altar. You stir and stir and stir, and wonder if that is how you will be remembered. A cautionary tale, spoken with pity. That night, you return to the garden. You don't expect him to be there, but he is, waiting under the willow, hood up, face pale. You shouldn't have come, you whisper. Neither should you, he says. You step closer. His eyes are tired, darker than before. She saw us, you tell him, Sister Amelie. She hasn't said anything yet. His hand reaches for yours, trembling. Then we don't have much time. The words strike hard, like the first toll of a funeral bell. What do we do? You ask. Pray. He smiles grimly. Prayers won't save us now. Only choices will. He leans in, mouth just brushing your ear. Meet me tomorrow, midnight. The catacomb stairs. We go north. There's a village 3 days away. A priest. There he owes me. You nod before fear can stop you. His hand stays in yours for one last heartbeat. Then he's gone, and you stand alone beneath the willow, shaking. You don't sleep again. Not because of desire, this time, but dread. You pack silently. One cloak, one crust of bread, the pressed fig leaf, the token, a sliver of soap, a piece of charcoal, in case you need to write your name before they erase it. You hide everything beneath the floorboard, near the laundry room. You wait for the hours to pass, for the chapel bell to toll 12. The building hums with breath and memory. You think about the others, the girls who disappeared before you, the ones who got caught. One was beaten, one was married off to a blind noble as punishment. One was buried without a name. You think about how quickly people forget women who step out of line, and how badly you want to be remembered, even if only by him, especially by him. Even if it costs everything else. You slip into the corridor at exactly 11:59. You wear a veil over your hair. A servant's shift, plain, forgettable. You move like shadow. The candle in the east stairwell has been left unlit, a sign, just like you agreed. You descend the stone stairs into the old crypt. Damp air curls around your ankles. The candlelight flickers against bones set into the walls. Ancient skulls sealed with wax. You reach the bottom. He's already there. Cloak wrapped tight. Satchel ready. We can go now, he whispers. But once we leave, there's no return. You nod. I'd rather be damned with you than blessed without you. He kisses you. It tastes like urgency, like salt and fear. You follow him through the tunnel lit only by a single torch. The monastery fades behind you with every step. You don't look back. You won't, not even when the tunnel shakes with the first scream of discovery. You make it to the woods by dawn. The sky is pink and grey, cold and brilliant. He knows the path well. We only have a few hours before they organize search riders, he says. We stay off the main road. You nod, breath clouding. The cold bites at your toes. The silence of freedom is louder than you expected. He glances at you as you walk. You don't have to speak, he says, but if you regret this, you stop him. I don't. He takes your hand, squeezes it once. You walk together until your legs ache. A field appears beyond the trees. Then, a narrow path, a cottage in the distance. We rest there, he says. Then we keep moving. But before you reach the door, a figure steps out. Hooded, thin, holding something in her hand. A habit, black. Sister Amelie, you whisper, and your heart slams into your ribs like a bird against glass. Corvin reaches for your arm, pulling you back into the shadows. She followed us, he breathes, or led us here. Amelie lowers her hood. Her face is worn, older than you remember. You thought I'd betray you, she says softly. No, I wanted to see if you'd have the courage. She holds up the habit. You'll need this, girl. The road north is watched, but dressed as a novice, no one will stop you. You stare. Why? She meets your eyes. Because once, I did the same. I ran, I was caught, And they made me into this. Her voice trembles. Don't let them. Make you too, she looks at Corvin. Take her to the abbey ruins at Farley. The priest there will protect you. After that, you're on your own. Then she vanishes into the woods. Not a farewell. Just wind. And you're left gripping the habit with frozen fingers, unsure if you're dreaming. You walk for 2 more days. You sleep in barns, steal bread, drink from frozen streams. Corvin keeps you warm with his body. You don't make love again. Not yet. There's too much fear in your limbs. But you sleep with your head on his chest, his fingers in your hair. The silence between you is full, not empty. On the 3rd morning, you arrive at the ruins. Overgrown stone, ivy-choked walls, and a priest waiting. Younger than expected, he takes one look at you both, nods, and opens the door. You're not the first, he says. You won't be the last. He gives you shelter, a new name, a ring of bark carved like a wedding band. He burns your habit, and then you and Corvin are alone again, safe, for now. But you know this isn't the end. The church never forgets what it calls a crime, especially not when that crime is love, and somewhere far away, deep in the archives of the monastery, your name is written beside a line of ink that reads, seduced, defiled, lost. But they will never write what you became after that. The abbey at Farley is colder than you imagined. Its walls, half collapsed, are covered in moss and soot. But there's heat in the priest's kitchen and bread that tastes like memory. Corvin builds a fire. You sleep for hours on the stone, floor wrapped in wool and silence. When you wake, your hands are in his. You were speaking in your sleep, he says. You ask what you said. He shakes his head. I think it was Latin. You don't remember learning Latin, not truly. But the books he left, the verses you traced by moonlight, have shaped your tongue. You kiss him. There is no hesitation now, no audience, no risk but memory. This time, it is not rushed, not desperate. It is slow and knowing and complete. When it's over, you lie beside him on the floor and whisper, we're not clergy or servants anymore. He smiles. No, just people. But people still have to hide. The priest, Father Elric, explains the situation clearly. The bishop's men passed through just last week, asking questions, descriptions. They didn't name you, but they will soon. You nod. Corvin sits beside you, eyes dark. We'll leave in the morning, he says. Further north, Elric hesitates. There's a path through the hills. Old smuggler's route. Hard to find, but it leads to a village where no churchman holds sway. He shows you a crude map, burned at the edges. You'll need to cross the river, he says. But if you make it, they won't find you. That night, you copied the map onto a strip of cloth with charcoal. You memorize the turns. You hold Corvin's hand under the table. Every hour feels stolen, borrowed from a fate that still hunts you. But for now, you are safe. And safety, even brief, is enough to make you breathe again. In the morning, the sky breaks open with rain. Cold, wild, relentless. You pull your borrowed cloak tighter around your shoulders. Corvin carries the satchel. The path is slick, almost invisible. Mud pulls at your shoes. Your bones ache. But you move forward, hand in hand, step by step. Elric watches from the abbey door until you vanish. Into the trees. May love guide you, he called. You don't look back. It takes hours to reach the river. The crossing is wide. No bridge, only a fallen tree and a rope left by someone long gone. Corvin goes first. You follow, heart hammering, slipping once, catching yourself. When you reach the other side, you laugh, just once. Loud, breathless, raw. He turns, surprised. We're still alive, you say. He kisses you, rain dripping from his hair onto your face. Yes, he says, we are. But neither of you knows what waits ahead. You reach the village by dusk, just as the rain turns to sleet. It's barely a village, more a cluster of huts nestled in the hill's crook. Smoke rises from a few thatched roofs. No church bell, no banners, just people. Hard-faced, slow-speaking, skeptical. You knock at the largest house. An old woman opens the door, narrow eyes sharp as needles. "We have coin," Corvin says, holding out a silver piece, "and skills." The woman studies him, then you, then the rain. She steps aside. "1 week," she says. "After that, you're just mouths." Inside is warm, smells of onions and fur. A boy sleeps by the fire. You're given straw beds and boiled oats. And for the first time in weeks, no one speaks of sin. The villagers don't care if you're lovers, only if you work, you gut fish. Corvin splits logs, and for a few precious days, life tastes like peace, but peace never lasts. On the 6th morning, a rider comes, dusty, hooded leather crest on his chest, a falcon over a cross. Not royal, worse, ecclesiastical agent. Corvin sees him first, through the frost-glazed window. His face drains of color. "They've found us," he says. "No," you whisper. "They suspect, not yet." You watch from behind the thatch wall as the rider speaks to the woman. She shrugs, points east, lies. You don't know why, but she lies for you. That night, she tells you why. "I lost a daughter to a monastery," she says. "She never came back." Don't waste what you've stolen. You nod. You don't sleep. In the dark, Corvin packs again. We go before dawn. You say nothing, because in your heart, you know something he doesn't. You're late. The church is already closer than you think. And now, it's not just your love they want to bury. It's your story in your dreams. You see fire, monasteries burning, scrolls turning to ash. You see Sister Amelin kneeling by a grave marked only by a pressed fig leaf. You see your name, not in ink but in blood, scrawled across parchment and sealed with wax. When you wake, your hand is clenched. You're holding something. The cloth map. You'd fallen asleep with it wrapped around your wrist. You unravel it slowly. The ink is fading, smudged, but the path is still there, still marked. You roused Corvin. It's time. He nods. No questions, no hesitation. You slip out before dawn, past the sleeping village, into the freezing woods. The path winds upward, into hills where no riders can follow. But as you climb, something catches your eye. A mark on a tree. A cross, cut, clean, fresh. You don't tell Corvin, not yet. But your heart drops, because now you know someone has already followed your map. The hills turn treacherous. Snow begins to fall. It clings to your lashes, your sleeves, your fingers. Go numb, but you keep going. The trail splits, east or north. The map says north. The tree mark points east. You hesitate, then choose north. What if they're ahead of us? Corvin asks. You shake your head. We'd be dead already. He nods, but worry blooms behind his eyes. You walk in silence. Hours pass. The trees thin. A cave appears, deep, narrow, hidden behind a ridge. You crawl in, collapse together. The cold seeps into your bones, but his arms are around you. We'll reach the coast in 2 days, he says. We'll take a boat, and then, you ask. He presses his lips to your temple. Then we become a legend. You smile, even as exhaustion pulls at you. Let them chase ghosts. You whisper, and you fall asleep to the sound of his heartbeat. One, then another, then none. When you wake, he's gone. The cave is still. The satchel remains, your cloak. But no sign of Corvin. Panic claws your throat. You scramble outside. Number. Tracks. Snow has covered everything. You run down the ridge, calling his name, once, twice, again. The woods are silent. And then, far below, a shadow. A figure on horseback. A man in black, holding something, someone slung across the saddle. Corvin, unmoving, your scream catches in your throat. The rider turns and disappears into the trees. You fall to your knees in the snow, breath gone, hands shaking. You have no weapons, no allies. Just a fading map, a broken trail, and a heart still full of him. But you rise. Slowly, you will follow. You will find him. Because what they do not understand, what they never understood, is that love, born in silence, is the hardest thing to kill. The snow crunches underfoot as you descend into the ravine. You no longer feel the cold, only heat, in your cheeks, in your spine, in the place where panic pulses like a war drum. The figure on horseback, black cloak, iron crest, face hidden was too far to recognize. But the way Corvin hung, limp, as if all the light had left him, that image brands itself onto your mind. You don't cry, not yet. You can't afford it. You retrace the slope, one hand on the map stitched into your memory. You recall the rider's direction, east toward the ruined outposts of the abandoned bishopric. A dead zone, no law, no road. But maybe that's why they took him there, to ensure silence, to finish what they started. You bite your lip hard, enough to draw blood. If they bury him in secret, no one will even know he lived. But you will. You steal a horse by dusk. It grazes near the frozen mill house on the edge of the tree line. You whisper soft apologies as you mount. The beast protests at first, then accepts your urgency. You ride without knowing how. The wind bites at your fingers. Branches slash your cheeks. But your grip is iron. Because if you stop, if you hesitate, if you fall, he disappears forever. You don't speak aloud, but your mind chants his name like prayer. Corvin, Corvin, Corvin. You remember his voice in the vault, the kiss in the rain, the firelight on his skin, and you remember something else. The last thing he said before falling. Asleep in the cave. Let them chase ghosts. Maybe that's what you've become, a ghost, a shadow. But if so, you're a vengeful one. You reach the first ruined gate by midnight. A shattered arch, burned stone. Beyond it, only darkness. And, somewhere, the man you love. The ruins smell like death. Not rot, not fresh. Older, as if sorrow soaked into the bricks and never left. You dismount near the chapel skeleton. No roof, just for standing walls. Snow gathers inside. You tether the horse beneath a broken spire. Then you move, slow and silent. Your feet barely crunch. You follow the trail of hoofprints, smeared and scattered. Then, a firelight flicker. In the lower court, where the bishop's tribunal once stood, someone has lit a brazier. A shadow sits nearby. You creep closer. It's him, not Corvin. The captor, cloaked, hood drawn, asleep. And beside him, the body, wrapped in burlap, curled, unmoving. The scream catches in your throat. You clench your fists until your nails dig moons into your palms. You are 5 steps from them. 5 steps from everything you've lost. You pick up a stone, cold, sharp. You raise it. And the man opens his eyes. He doesn't move, just watches. The firelight flickers across his face. Not old, not young, but sharp like a blade. His voice is calm. You followed. You say nothing. You raise the stone higher. His hand moves, slow. No weapon, just gestures toward the bundle. He's alive, he says. For now, your breath hitches. You lower the stone half an inch. Why, you whisper, why take him? The man stands, orders. The church wants silence. Then kill us, you spit. If you're going to, he shakes his head. I'm not a killer, his eyes narrow, but I am a witness. You stare, his words twist in your mind. He reaches into his cloak, pulls out a sealed scroll, holds it toward you. Read this, then decide. Your fingers tremble as you take it. The seal bears the mark of a bishop. You break it open, and your blood turns to ice as the truth spills into your hands. The scroll is a decree, not of execution, not of exile, of trial, for heresy, for seduction, for theft of relics. Your name, and Corvin's appear in Latin, side by side. Of holy order, it reads, corrupters of sacred law, and worse, a third name, Sister Amelin, listed as accomplice. They mean to purge all traces, the man says. Tie up the story with blood. You stare at him, mind unraveling. Then why spare us? He shrugs. Because I read his writings, Corvin's, before they burned them. He gestures at the satchel by the fire. And I don't think the church should decide what lives or dies. He turns, picks up a pack. There's a boat, half a mile downriver. If you want to vanish, you'll need to leave now. You rush to Corvin's side, peel back the burlap. His face is bruised, eyes closed, breathing shallow. But he's alive. Can you help me carry him? You ask. The man nods. You don't. Speak on the way to the river. The stranger supports Corvin's weight, while you lead the path. The moon is sharp, silver, judgmental. The water glistens below, like melted bone. The boat is small, a smuggler's skiff, oars already stowed. A water skin and bread inside. You settle Corvin in the hull. The stranger steps back. Once you cross, head east. The forest there runs wild. No bishop dares enter. You hesitate. Why are you helping us? He looks at the stars. Because once I ran too, but no. One helped me. He presses something into your hand, a ring, iron, with a strange symbol. They use it to track you. Wear it, and they'll think you drowned. You nod, barely able to speak. You reach for his arm. Thank you. He nods once, then fades into the trees. The water ripples as you push the boat off. You take the oars and row toward the life not yet promised. Corvin wakes by midday. His voice is hoarse, slurred. Am I dead? You laugh through tears. No, but you nearly made it easy. He blinks at the trees above. Where are we? Gone, you say. We're gone. He closes his eyes again. You came for me, of course. You whisper. Always. He coughs, then winces. I thought you'd run, saved yourself. You shake your head. I only live where you are. Silence falls again. But this time it is warm, soft. You paddle through the water until it splits into a stream. Then you pull the boat onto the shore. You'll walk from here, step by step. You wrap his arm around your shoulder, help him stand. The ring on your finger burns cold. You glance back only once, toward the river, the smoldering monastery, the life you refused, and then you walk on. Because now, your story is no longer theirs to write. You find a cottage after 2 days, abandoned, half-rotted, but still standing. You clean it, feed him herbs, make broth. Corvin gains strength, slowly. You read to him, old poems burned into your memory. You speak your real name again. Every night, you share the same bed, the same breath. There's no fear now, no bells, only the sound of the wind and the fire. One night, he opens his eyes and says, I dreamed we were married. You smile, we are. You cut a strip of linen from your shift and tie it around both your wrists. Now we are bound. He kisses your palm. Then let this place be our chapel. Outside, snow begins to fall again. Not as threat, but as blanket. You fall, asleep beside him, warm and whole. For the first time since this began, the silence means peace. But far to the south, the bishop's scrolls still whisper your names. And one scribe, loyal and bitter, sharpens a new quill. The snow melts slowly, revealing the bones of spring beneath the frost. You and Corvin fall into rhythm. He mends the roof, tends the goats left behind by someone long gone. You gather herbs, preserve food, read aloud by candlelight. There are no prayers, no bells, just breath and the warmth of shared silence. Your bodies heal, so do your memories, though more slowly. Sometimes you wake at night from dreams filled with fire. Other times you find Corvin staring at the trees, as if expecting men with crosses to rise from the woods. But the days pass. The woods remain quiet. and you almost begin to believe. One evening, while grinding rosemary, you turn to him and ask, "Do you miss it?" He looks up, "The monastery." You nod. "Sometimes," he admits, "but only." The stillness, not the silence. You understand, there's a difference. And now, your silence is yours. On the 15th morning, you find a book, half buried beneath a floorboard in the back room, mildewed ink, faded brittle, but intact. A prayer book, written in a dialect older than you've ever read. You open it carefully. The pages whisper like skin. "These are not church prayers," Corvin says, reading over your shoulder. "They're older, pagan, maybe. But you don't burn it. You keep it. Because some prayers are simply songs spoken in darkness. And because this place, this small, forgotten cottage feels like it remembers other kinds of worship." One night, you recite a verse from the book. Over your shared meal, Corvin smiles. "We've made our own liturgy," he says. And for a moment, you forget who you used to be. Servant, clergy, fugitive, heretic. All labels melt into the steam of soup and the feel of his hand around yours. But peace, like all holy things, comes at a price. And the forest listening always has begun to stir. It begins with birds, or rather, the lack of them. For weeks, their calls filled your morning sparrows, thrushes, the occasional owl refusing sleep. But now, silence. Then the footprints. At first, you think they're yours. A path you missed near the well. But they're deeper, wider. Boots, not bare feet. Corvin notices too. He says nothing. But that night, he sharpens the old knife twice as long. On the third day, you find a mark on the tree near the river. A cross, carved upside down. You don't tell Corvin immediately. But when you return from gathering wood, you find him holding the prayer book. "It's missing a page," he says softly. Near the middle, you look together. Torn cleanly, no stain, no age. "Recent, someone's been inside," he murmurs. You nod. You don't sleep that night, neither does he. You hold each other tightly, your breath shared, your ears straining for a twig snap in the dark. Nothing happens for 2 more days, and that is worse, because it means they're watching. Whoever they are, bounty hunters, church agents, someone seeking the bounty. On your names they know where you are now. You cannot run again, not yet. Corvin's strength has returned, but the horse is gone. The cottage is too far from any village. "We have to make them believe we're gone," he says, "or make them afraid to come closer." You set traps, noise lines. You smear ash across the doorframe, so you'll see if someone enters. You burn rosemary and salt. You pray not to saints, but to whatever will listen. The prayer book's verses seem less strange now, less foreign. You speak them like you've always known them, like they were waiting for you. And still, number 1 comes, not until the 5th night, when the knocking starts. It's not loud, just 3 soft knocks. Polite, almost humble. You freeze mid-step. Corvin grabs the knife. You move to the window. A figure stands just beyond the snow-wet sill, cloaked, hooded, motionless. The fire crackles behind you, throwing long shadows across the room. Another knock. "What do we do?" you whisper. Corvin's jaw tightens. "We let them speak." You open the door an inch. The cold rushes in like a ghost. "Who are you?" you ask. The figure lifts their head. A woman, younger than you, eyes rimmed with red. "I need sanctuary," she says. You hesitate. Corvin looks at you, nods once. You open the door. She stumbles in, soaked and shaking. She doesn't look armed. She carries a satchel, half frozen. "They're coming," she says through chattering teeth. "They're burning." The woods behind me. You rush to the window. Smoke, far off but real. The hunt has begun again. You feed her soup, wrap her in a blanket. Ask her name. "Mira," she says. From the river villages. You ask who's chasing her. "Men with brands," she says. "Swords, no crests. But they ask questions." Corvin stiffens. "Did they ask for a man and woman?" She nods. A priest and a whore, they said. Your heart sinks. She watches your face change. It's you, she says. The heretics. Her tone isn't cruel, just awed. They offered coin, food, for your location. And you didn't tell them, Corvin says. She looks him dead in the eye. Because the church killed my brother for owning a banned book. The silence that follows is long, sacred. Then, Corvin speaks. Then stay, if you want. Myra nods once. I'm good with traps. You smile despite the fear curling in your belly. You'll fit right in. But you know this time, it won't be as easy to disappear. The forest is burning. Smoke clings to the air for days. Myra teaches you how to set hidden lines along the river trail, how to mask scent, how to trick dogs. She's clever, fierce, but afraid to. One night, while gutting her hair, she whispers, they branded a man's face just for feeding someone like you. Corvin grimaces. What do they call us now? She shrugs. Ghosts, lovers, witches. You touch his hand beneath the table. Witches? The word should frighten you. Instead, it tastes like protection. Power, then let them chase myths, you whisper. Myra smirks. They are. The next morning, you find another mark on a tree, not a cross, a symbol you recognize, from the missing prayer book page. A ward, not theirs, yours. Someone is watching. But maybe not to harm. Maybe someone else is hiding too. Then, one night, you hear it again. Knocking, not 3 this time. 7, you rise from your bedding slowly, knife in hand. Myra nods. Corvin stays behind the door. You open it just a crack. This time, it's not one figure. It's 5, cloaked, silent. One steps forward, pulls back their hood. A man, young. A brand burned into his cheek. You're not alone, he says. He holds up the prayer book's torn page. You left this. You glance at Corvin. He steps forward. What do you want? The man smiles. To listen, to learn, to follow. Myra's breath catches. There are more of us, she whispers. All of us hunted. You realize what you've become. Not fugitives. Not heretics. Symbols. A myth that moves through whispers and smoke. The man speaks again. Teach us what they tried to burn. And you, still trembling, still unsure, step back and let them in. Because the forest is no longer only a hiding place. It's a sanctuary. They come in 2s, then in 3s. Young men with branded faces. Old women who burned confession scrolls. Runaway novices. Illegitimate sons of priests. Some arrive with wounds. Some with stories. All of them come because they've heard the tale. A man and a woman who defied the church and survived. They bring bread, candles, tools. They ask to be taught. You never called yourself a leader, but now you are one. Myra builds a hidden chamber beneath the cottage floor. Corvin rewrites the lost pages of the prayer book by firelight. You teach them how to survive without being seen, how to bless without saints, how to love without shame. The word heretic becomes something else among them, not a curse, a calling. And when they ask you to name what they are, you whisper, children of ash, because all of you have burned, and now you're learning how to rise by spring. The cottage is no longer a cottage, it's a sanctuary with secret symbols carved. Beneath every lintel, a code in the chimney soot, so no spy can enter unseen. When a new member arrives, they are given a ritual, a drop of blood on the stone hearth, a piece of bread split with no prayer, and a line from the Book of Silence, the rewritten pages. You don't know when it began to feel sacred, but now, even the wind seems to hush when you speak those verses aloud. One night, after a gathering, Corvin draws you away into the grove behind the house. There, beneath the moonlight, he kisses you slowly, not like fugitives, not like lovers on borrowed time, but like a man who has finally come home. We made something holy, he whispers. You smile, and it wasn't in a cathedral. Your fingers trace the mark behind his ear, the scar from his last escape, but peace, as always, is fleeting. Myra returns from a scouting trip with a face gone pale. They're moving again, she says. Not priests, knights, royal. You blink. Why would the crown care? She unwraps a scroll, stolen, stained. The seal is not ecclesiastical. It bears a lion, the king's crest. They fear you've started a rebellion, Mira explains. They think you're building an army in the hills. Corvin reads the scroll aloud. It calls for your capture. Alive, not for trial, not for confession, for control. You don't speak for a long time, because you understand what this means. The church wanted your silence, but the crown fears your voice. You remember the scribe's hand, the sharpened quill, the names recorded in ink. Somehow, despite it all, your story spread. And now, kings are listening, not to burn you, not to bury you, but to silence the idea of you. The idea that love is stronger than law. The forest grows more dangerous. Scouts report strangers watching the paths. Fires lit when no fire should be. You tighten security, change rituals, move meetings underground. But the feeling lingers. You are being watched. One morning, a boy arrives, no older than 15, shaking, bleeding from the lip. There. Coming, he says. 40 men, steel and flame. 2 nights away, you thank him. Bandage his wounds. Then you gather your people, 33 souls, some ready to flee, some ready to fight. Myra votes to burn everything and vanish. Others say to stay, protect the sacred ground. You stand in silence until they fall quiet. Then you say, we were never meant to live forever, only to live long enough to light the way. The room stills. Corvin steps beside you. Then we lead them into the fire. You meet his eyes and nod. But we do it on our terms. And so begins the final preparation. You don't sleep that night. Corvin kneels beside the fire, writing the last verses of the Book of Silence. You pack herbs and salves. Mira sharpens blades. There are no tears, only breath. Steady, quiet, fierce. You remember what Sister Amelin once said. Don't let them make you. And now, you understand what she meant. Because the world will try. The church will try. The crown will try. They'll mold you into a villain or a tragedy. A witch, a thief, a ghost, but only if you let them. And tonight, you will not. You sit beside Corvin and take his hand. If they take you, he starts. They won't, you say. If they do, he insists, burn everything. Don't let them take the words. You squeeze his hand. Only if they take you first. His smile is tired. Then let them try. He kisses you. And in that moment, you become unbreakable. The attack comes at midnight. You hear the horses before you, see them. Then the torchlight. Then the sound of swords. But your people are ready. Silent figures slip through trees. Traps snap. Fire blooms in the underbrush. Chaos erupts. You don't fight with steel. You fight with knowledge. Every tunnel, every snare, every sacred line laid weeks in advance. The knights are blind. By the time they reach the house, half their number are wounded. But you are gone, underground. In the carved stone crypt Myra helped build. There, in a space barely wide, enough to stand, your people wait. Listening, breathing, waiting. You hold the prayer book close. Corvin at your side. You hear shouting above, splintering wood. Find them, someone yells. You close your eyes, count the seconds. You whisper a verse from the book. So do the others. 33 voices in the dark, breathing the same rhythm. One heartbeat, one cause, one flame. They never find you at dawn. The invaders set the house on fire. You watch through the vents, flames devouring roof and wall. But the crypt holds. And when the smoke rises into the sky, they believe their mission complete. They'll think us dead, Mira whispers. Let them, you reply. For 3 days, you remain underground, rationing water, praying, healing. On the fourth morning, the scouts report. The soldiers have left. The forest is quiet. You rise, blinking in the ash-heavy sunlight. What once was your home is now blackened earth. But from the ruin rises a single flower. Wild, bright, defiant. You kneel, touch its petals. What now? Myra asks. You look at Corvin. He nods. Now, you say, we rebuild, everywhere. Because they didn't kill your story, they spread it. And now, in 100 forests, 100 cellars, 100 whispered prayers, you live, and in the ruins of a burned monastery, a young scribe copies your name in a new book. The title, The Gospel of Ash. The story spreads like wildfire, but not through flames. Through whispers, through letters, through songs sung in taverns, by those who claim to have seen your face or touched your hand. No two tales are the same. In one, you are both witches who cursed a cathedral into ruin. In another, Corvin is a fallen angel, and you a mortal who sheltered him. A few call you devils, but most call you hope. You and Corvin move silently from place to place, never staying longer than a week. You sleep in crypts, forests, root, cellars, caves. Everywhere you go, someone offers bread, a stolen prayer book, a candle you leave behind, verses, fragments, seeds. Some won't grow, others will become wild gardens. You don't need temples anymore, only memory. And even in the coldest corners of the kingdom, memory is starting to smell like smoke and rosemary. In the village of Alderbrook. The children recognize you. They don't know your names, but they whisper when you pass, eyes wide with wonder. Mira joins you again here, dressed in plain cloth, a scar across her cheek from a raid she barely escaped. It's worse now, she says one night. Not just the clergy, the merchants, too. The Crown's sanctioned bounty lists. They're using your story to burn anyone who asks too many questions. Corvin shakes his head. We never wanted that. No, she says. But they feared the symbol, so they painted it on everything they hate. That night, you sit alone in the chapel ruins outside town. The stars are sharp. The wind smells of old incense. You kneel where an altar once stood and whisper, "Did I do this?" You feel a hand slip into yours. Corvin, we didn't set the fire, he says. But we showed them where it was hidden. You nod. And together, you keep walking. In the hills above Blackmere, a woman awaits you. Middle-aged, stern eyes. A ring of herbs drying over her hearth. She opens the door before you knock. I dreamed you'd come, she says. I saved a place. The room she gives you is quiet, overlooking frost-silvered fields. That night, she feeds you boiled beans and sings songs from a forgotten dialect. There were others before you, she says, but none dared write it down. That's what matters. You wrote it down. Corvin exchanges a glance with you. It was only meant for her, he says. The woman smiles. That's why it worked. That night, you and Corvin lie together in candlelight. The fear is still there, faint, like smoke after a storm, but it no longer rules you. You undress slowly, reverently. There's no rush, no terror, only the soft weight of history between your fingertips. You make love like you're carving truth into time. No saints, no sins, only skin and breath and belonging. In a cave east of Thornwick, you discover a surprise, a child. She stands barefoot near the water, holding a branch like a blade. I heard the story, she says. Are you them? You nod slowly. She lowers the branch. Good, she says, because my mother's dying. You follow her deeper into the cave, where a woman lies, coughing blood. Corvin checks her pulse, mixes herbs. You stay behind with the girl. Her name is Lysa. Her mother had been hiding since refusing to renounce a banned scripture. Before dawn, the woman dies. You bury her in the stone field beyond the cave mouth, marking the grave with wildflowers. Lysa weeps once, then simply stands beside you. Can I stay with you? She asks. Corvin hesitates, then nods. And just like that, your story is no longer just yours. You are no longer fugitives. You are guardians, and your family, forged in fire and silence, has begun to grow. Winter returns like a knife. Your small group, now 6 souls, moves west, toward coastal lands said to be untouched by both church and crown, but the journey is harsh. Frost cracks the soles of your boots. Corvin grows ill from a river crossing. Mira loses a toe to frostbite. Lysa begins to dream in Latin, though no one taught her. She's remembering the herbwoman had said before you left. Children, like her, come from old roots. You don't question it. Some things are better left wrapped in myth. By the time you reach the sea, you are thinner, hungrier, but still together. Corvin's fever breaks in a mossy hut built into a cliffside. There, you remain for weeks. You carve new verses into driftwood. You write with salt and ash. Lysa draws symbols on the walls with her fingers. The wind carries them inland. You wonder, can even the sea hold back a truth so heavy? But the coast is not untouched. A black-hooded man waits on the cliffs. He doesn't attack, doesn't speak, just watches. Myra sees him first. He's been there 3 mornings now. You confront him on the 4th. Are you one of them? You ask. He lowers his hood. His face is burned on one side. I was, he says, but not anymore. He pulls a book from his satchel. Your book, but not handwritten, printed. You stare at it, blinking. Where did you? A town. North of here, underground press. They're risking everything. You open it. The words are yours, but someone's changed the title. Testament of the Silent Flame. The man bows. They wanted you to know. You've become more than legend, your doctrine, and suddenly, it's not just survival anymore. You realize your words have taken root in places you'll never walk. They've outgrown your body, your past, your guilt, and now there's no turning back. Lysa asks the question no one dares to voice. What happens if they catch us now? The silence afterward is thick. Corvin finally says, then they won't just kill us. He looks up at you. They'll try to rewrite us, undo the truth. You nod, but they'll fail. Mira scoffs. How can you be sure? You look at the book, at the child, at the ring still hidden under your tunic. Because truth doesn't die in fire. It dies in forgetting. You build a stone cache in the cliff wall. Inside it, you place 3 copies of the book, wrapped in wax cloth. You carve the symbol of ash above it. Even if we're erased, you say, this will remain. And something deep in you settles. Not comfort, but clarity. This was never just about hiding, or even surviving. It was about memory. And now, it's sealed in stone, but far inland, in a golden-lit chamber. The bishop reads the same book aloud, and his final words are not rage. They are a smile, and the whisper. We found them. The ocean breathes heavy beneath the cliffs, but the wind no longer sings. It howls. Your body knows before your mind does something has shifted. A presence pressing from the east. On the 7th night, since the stranger gave you the printed book, the firewood stack is moved. Not by your hand, not by mirrors. Someone has entered your camp unseen. Corvin draws his blade without hesitation. Mira doubles the traps. Lysa stops speaking entirely. Her drawings suddenly dark as symbols crossed out, figures upside down. It's not safe anymore, Myra says. But you already know. That night, you sleep in shifts. At one point, Corvin stirs beside you, whispering, it's too quiet. He's right. Even the sea has calmed, unnaturally still. In your gut, you feel that the hunt is no longer about stopping you. It's about ending the idea of you. And that means they'll come with fire, steel, and something worse. ERASURE. By morning, Lysa is gone. No struggle, no sound, just her bed, still warm. A faint trail leads toward the bluff's edge. Mira blames herself. I should have been watching. Corvin is silent, but his jaw clenches so tight it clicks. You follow the trail past brambles and wind-torn roots, until you find a mark carved into the stone, the ash symbol, fresh. Below it, a scrap of linen tied like a ribbon. Lysa's, you don't speak, you don't scream, you just run. The trail dips down toward the beach, then vanishes. You find a single footprint in the sand. Heavy, male, booted. They took her, Myra says, to draw us out. Corvin breathes, slowly, painfully. They want witnesses. They want to destroy her in front of us. You don't argue. You already knew. The tide laps closer. The message is clear. Come and burn with her, or vanish like smoke. And this time, you won't run. The three of you descend into the cave one last time. It's the oldest place on the coast, whetstone, candle. Niches, moss-like velvet. The wind sighs through the tunnels like a memory. This was where you first rewrote the pages of your love. Now it may be where you end. Mira unrolls a map stolen from a bishop's retinue. They'll bring her to Marrow Hill, she says. It's public, visible, a spectacle. You nod. It's what you would do if you wanted to unwrite a myth. Corvin wraps his prayer sash around his wrist. We don't go to stop them, he says. We go to be seen, you understand. If they want a legend to die, then they must face it. Not rumor, not ink, flesh and blood. Lysa is not just a child now. She's the proof that love, however forbidden, can create something the church cannot control. And if she burns, it must be with your truth wrapped around her like armor. You move at night by torchless trail, through wolf-haunted woods and frostbitten riverbeds. Every shadow feels like a knife pressed to your spine. But you move, step by step, because the cost of stillness is too great. At dawn, on the third day, you see it. Marrow Hill, once used for royal sermons, now an execution ground. A scaffold, a pyre, a crowd already gathering like vultures. Mira scopes the ridge. 24 guards, no crests, hired blades. Corvin peers through the trees. She's in the cart, and she is tied, gagged, eyes wide but unbroken. You want to rush, to scream, but Mira stops you, not yet. They're watching for panic, not purpose. So you wait, hidden, until the bishop arrives. Robes of crimson, a crown of thorns, not metaphorical, real thorns, blood already threading down his brow. He wants to be Christ, Myra whispers, but you came to be fire. The bishop begins to speak words like poison. This child is the fruit of blasphemy, he declares, born of defiance, nurtured in sin. The crowd murmurs, some nod, others frown. The myth must die before it becomes disease. Then, from beneath his robe, he holds up the testament of the silent Flamure book, tattered, stained, bound in leather. A lie, he says, a weapon disguised as scripture. Corvin's breath hitches. They're going to burn her with it. That's the theater of it. Burn the child, burn the word, burn the future. But something inside you, something deeper than blood or breath, begins to rise. You stand, now, you whisper. Mira pulls her hood low. Corvin unsheathes his knife. You walk out from the trees, toward the pyre, toward the bishop, toward the end or the beginning. The crowd sees you first, a ripple, then gasps, then silence. The bishop turns. You meet his eyes. He knows you instantly. Stop them, he shouts. But no one moves, because the myth they meant to bury has walked out of the trees alive. You raise your hand, slowly. You speak without shouting, without rage. You say only this: you have our bodies, but not our silence. And then you kneel beside Lysa, untie her gag, press your forehead to hers, and whisper a verse from the first page Corvin ever wrote for you. Love that cannot speak is still, holy. Then Myra steps forward and lights the torch, but she does not throw it at you. She throws it at the bishop's altar, and the fire begins to spread. The guards hesitate. The crowd erupts, some running, others kneeling, others singing, not hymns. Your words, The guards move too late. By the time they reach the pyre, you're already gone through the smoke, into the caves beneath Marrow Hill, where centuries of forgotten saints once fled. Mira collapses with laughter. Corvin kisses your face. Again and again, Lysa sobs, not from fear, but from something she can't name. Freedom, maybe, or fury. The bishop stands in the flames, shouting curses. But no one listens now. The crowd has turned. The myth is alive. It cannot be unmade. That night, in a hidden cavern, you write one final verse into the prayer book. We were never lost. We were only hidden. And now, we rise. But far across the sea, a courier ship arrives in Rome. Inside, a sealed letter, a copy of the book, and a single line scrawled in the bishop's hand. The fire is real. The ship arrives in Rome beneath a sky dulled by sea mist. A letter, sealed with a bishop's signet, reaches the cardinal chamber by evening. Inside, a single sentence and a copy of the testament of the silent flame. The fire is real. Those words spread faster than scripture. The high clergy read it in silence. Some scoff, some sweat. They issue orders in the night. Presses shut down, sympathizers imprisoned, rewritten versions pushed from the pulpit. But the damage is done. You have become what they feared most. Not an army, but an idea. An idea wrapped in verses, multiplied. In kisses, scattered in the margins of forgotten prayer books. They cannot contain it, because they do not understand it. And in that ignorance, the fire spreads further. By the time they try to bury you, you are already everywhere. Not as flesh, not even as myth, but as flame breathing in silence, far from cathedrals and palaces. In the stillness of a coastal cave, you are very much alive. Time has loosened its grip on you. Seasons blend. Days come and go like waves. You keep no calendar, no records, only the rhythm of breath and movement. Myra now trains others, passing on the rituals forged in rebellion. Lysa teaches new disciples how to speak the forbidden verses. As lullabies, you and Corvin live simply. You mend nets, cook meals, stitch cuts, share stories. He still calls you my oath every night, with a whisper near your ear. In moments of quiet, you both tend to the shrine of Asher, circle of driftwood, bone, and herbs, where newcomers leave their fears like offerings. You keep the original manuscript locked in a stone niche, but its verses are no longer needed to spark belief. They live inside others now. You were hunted once, but now you are followed by those who walk, not behind you, but with you. You wear the ring still, beneath your robe, on a thread of Myra's hair. It's tarnished now, dulled with age, but still smooth to the touch. You never removed it, not once, not in hiding, not in hunger, not even when Corvin fell ill that first winter near the cliffs. The ring reminds you that your bond was never declared before a priest, never recorded in ink or stone, but it was sacred. You remember the night he gave it to you. You were lying in the ruins of an old convent, your body's cold, but your heart's burning. He didn't speak much, just held out the ring threaded on a wild violet. Not for God, he whispered. For you. You took it, even though you had no place to wear it. Now, when others ask what makes love real, you point to it. Nothing, you say, and everything. Because it wasn't the vow that bound you. It was the fire you both chose never to extinguish. Lysa becomes more than you imagined. Call her the phlegmy child now, though she's grown taller than Myra, and fiercer than any priest who's tried to find her. Some say she's untouchable. Others say she can vanish at will. You know better. She's human, holy, gloriously human, with grief in her bones and starlight in her eyes. She leads the southern sanctuary now, where survivors come barefoot, broken, carrying secrets and scars. She greets them not with prayers, but with soup and a story. Your story. Corvin's, Mira's, hers. She never reads from the testament. She knows it by heart. And when she visits, she still curls beside you like she did when she was small, whispering questions about love, death, and defiance. You tell her the truth, always, even when it aches. She lights a candle each night for her mother, and one for you. Because you made me more than a ghost, she says. You made me alive. In the north, Myra builds something dangerous. A network, hidden tunnels beneath town chapels, messages tucked in shoe soles, symbol codes inked inside the seams of traveling robes. You knew she would one day take the fire and make it a system. She was never meant to rest in caves. And now, people chant her name in marketplaces and alleys. The knife of the faithless flame, they call her. She rolls, her eyes at the title, but she accepts it. When she visits, she brings news. An abbot in red spire defected. A monk smuggled 30 verses under a bishop's nose. A group of laundresses in the royal court secretly meet once a week, reciting your words. You try not to let hope swell to large in your chest, but it does, because these aren't battles fought with swords. They're stories spread by whispers, born in kitchens and cloisters. And stories, once ignited, cannot be silenced without burning the entire world. One evening, the waves roll quiet, and the sky blushes gold. Corvin takes your hand as you sit on the edge of the sea. His hair has silvered now, but his eyes are the same stormy, slow-burning, deep. Do you think it was all worth it? He asks. You don't answer at first. The question feels too vast, too raw. Instead, you place his hand over your heart. He feels it, still steady, still beating. That's my answer, you say. He chuckles softly. It's a good one. He leans in, kisses your cheek, and you feel the warmth of decades pressed into that single touch. You sit in silence after that, because words are not always needed. Sometimes survival speaks louder than anything else. And in that moment, with salt in your lungs and fire in your chest, you realize this is what victory feels like. Not cheers, not banners, just peace. Earned, quiet, and shared with someone who never left your side. The final winter comes slowly. Corvin grows weaker, his voice hoarser. You care for him like you once cared for. You're wrapping his hands, boiling roots, rubbing warmth into his feet. Lysa comes to stay. Mira visits more often. Every moment is precious, sharp-edged, suspended in candlelight. He asks you to read the first page of the Testament again. You do. His lips move with yours, smiling faintly. We were never meant to be saints, he says. Just something holy. The last thing he sees is your face, calm, tender, fearless. He dies in his sleep, hand in yours. You bury him beneath the olive tree, the one you planted your first spring in exile. No monument, just a symbol carved in bark. Therefore, the ash, the spark, the eternal. And still, you do not cry, because grief does not always fall from the eyes. Sometimes it flows inward. Sometimes it becomes a song sung in silence. You live long enough to see kingdoms crumble. A northern queen abolishes clerical marriage bans. A southern scribe publishes your full verses under her own name. A statue is raised, not of you, but of a flamen labeled eternal. You grow slower, your hair thins, your hands tremble when you write. But still, every dusk, you light a candle. Still, every morning, someone knocks on the sanctuary door. Still, you whisper truth to the young and tired and desperate. And then, one night, as rain taps gently against the cave ceiling, your body decides to rest. No warning, no pain. You simply stop. Myra is at your side. Lysa holds your hand. They bury you beside Corvin. The stone is plain. The words few. They lived, they loved, they lit the way. And in 100 sanctuaries, in languages you never spoke, the flame continues. Because your story wasn't about you. It was about love that could not be silenced, and never will be.